What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mike Robinson. And this is another great episode of Let's Take a Walk. And as usual, I have a fantastic guest for you guys. Tonight we have the lovely Miss Charvette Mitchell. She is a radio host. She is a speaker. She is an entrepreneur. She is an online strategist. I want to hear the definition of that. I saw that and I was like, yo, she gonna have to tell me what that means. She's an online strategist. She does you name it, she does it. Without further ado, I'm going to give her the floor and just kind of give her an opportunity to kind of reintroduce herself. For the people who may not be familiar with her and her movement, I'm going to give her a moment to just kind of toot her own horn, I guess, for lack of better words, okay? Miss Charvette, here we go.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Mike, for having me. I'm excited to be here with all those that are joining us live, and certainly those that will catch the replay. I am Charvette Mitchell, and I work with female entrepreneurs primarily, and a few lucky men get sprinkled in to help them build their personal brands and their online platforms so that they generate more revenue. And I'm focused on their visibility, their marketing, and also the branding. And so the online strategist part is really around, I focus heavily on marketing online, which we're platforms like this, live streaming, social media, email marketing, video marketing. That's all a part of how I help entrepreneurs and leaders really get more eyes and visibility on what they are doing. So that's a little bit about me. I'm excited, again, to be here. As you mentioned, the author. So I've had the opportunity to work with some clients, and we put some book collaborations together. So my first book was Propel, second book, Pour, and third book coming out this year is Pursue. So some people might have seen me here in these internet streets with the Charvette Mitchell radio show, which is every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So again, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Let's start with this online strategist. I mean, we're gonna try to touch on everything. We're gonna do our best to kind of touch on everything, but let's start with the online strategist. What is an online strategist?
Yeah. So when we think of the word, if you look up the word strategy, it is actually a military term. Not from the military, but the word strategy is really is from the military, which is what is your plan of attack? And so oftentimes where new and emerging entrepreneurs kind of jump into the marketing is really with social media. Because that has one of the lowest barriers, one of the lowest entry points. Of course, yes, people can advertise on radio and TV and magazines and all of that, but those typically come with a high price tag. And so online is where a lot of times people can focus their energy. So someone that is an online strategist, what we do is help give you a game plan of what to do online, really related to your marketing and your branding. So that's the focus, is a game plan. What are the things that are working? What are the things that you should focus on, and how to implement those and go knock it out the park?
How important is it to have an online presence nowadays? I mean, that might sound like a silly question, but with everything going on, how important is it to have an online presence?
It is required because the consumer has an expectation that you have one. And that's not a silly question. I actually, someone on my Twitter tweeted earlier today, she's in the author world and the world with authors. And she said, authors, can you all please get websites? Like you all need to have websites. So if we're still having the conversation around whether you should have a website or not, your question is not out of order. So everybody is online. Everybody has access. It's not just where people are. It's also the access that people have. And so if you're marketing, you're trying to get in front of an audience. And so you got to go hang out where they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know that that's kind of like your business, but the way the times have changed, so it's more important to have an online presence than it is to really lay your hands on people and have that one-on-one contact. Do are you affected by that? I mean, are you one of those people, those old people, get off my lawn type of people? Or are you, I mean, how does that make you feel personally?
So I think you need a marriage of both. So there's some businesses where they truly are offline. I think about a customer who owns an auto body shop. They might not need as much social media presence, but they do need Google. They do need reviews on Google. They do need, if somebody goes and searches and says, where can I get my car fixed within the 20-mile radius, they need to come up. Do they have to have Facebook presence? Maybe, maybe not. We could argue. So I think it depends on your industry and what you provide, but a nice marriage of both, because there's still in-person businesses, businesses where you got to interact in person. In most cases, people are going to go look you up first. So what are they going to find and what are they going to see?
Is there one site more critical than the other? And if I'm a business, is there one site that I really need to have a strong presence in more so than another?
It depends on your customer. So for your business, where is your customer? That might be LinkedIn, that might be Facebook, that might be Instagram, that might be Twitter. It might be YouTube. So it depends really on your customer.
Wow. Okay. So let's move along. How important, especially when you're doing things like this, when you're streaming, you see our faces, you see everything. How important is image to you? I mean, I see, I talked to some artists. Like I usually ask this to like music artists and people like that. So like back in the day, like in the 90s stuff, you kind of had that cookie cutter. I was joking with a guy. You had to have baby hair and a 6-pack. You had to look a certain way. You had to kind of carry yourself a certain way. But nowadays, it seems to be a little bit more fluid. You don't have that look anymore. You still have some people, but then it seems like more people are not fitting that mold. But but in your line of business, how important is image? Image
is incredibly important. It is a part of your brand. So if we kind of go back to this conversation around online marketing, people checking you out before they meet you, even with artists, music artists. I met with someone earlier today who helps artists get radio servicing. People are going to go look you up, and a lot of times they're going to find out about you online. And so what are they going to see? Your profile pictures. They're going to see your graphics. They're going to see visual things that represent your image. And then what's the next thing they're going to do? They're going to make a determination. So if you have a dusty looking selfie up and the next artist has a nice professional picture, right, people are going to make an assessment of that. Maybe that person's music is better. So image is still, we can't get away from it. Image is still a part of branding.
Awesome. Okay. So I see, and I don't mean this to be contentious or anything like that, but I see people who are in the same vein as what you do as far as the online marketing. What makes you different?
So I started out actually as a web designer. So many moons ago, my business started in web design. And so I actually got into this kind of consulting and this marketing space. One, because I have a degree from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, go VCU Rams, and the degree is in marketing. But what I was finding was when I was working with customers, after we did their websites, then they would say, well, what next? Like, what am I supposed to be doing now? And I found myself consulting, and I was an early adopter of social media. And so one of the things that brings me into line a little bit differently maybe than some others is I do have a little bit of the tech girl background. So not only can I tell people, okay, hey, you need to have a cover. Hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. Some of that I can actually help them implement. And then my brand, there's an example. They have people all the time that go check out my brand and say, okay, hey, I want my pages to look like yours. I want my things to look like yours. And I spent a lot of time in corporate America as well, in the training and development space. And so that is another added benefit because this entrepreneurial space, the good and the bad of it is that everybody can jump in and be literally equal playing field, but what are the transferable skills that you bring either from corporate America or education or just your implementation over years? What do you bring to the table? So now as a full-time entrepreneur since February 2018, you know what, I'm loving it. I'm loving what I'm doing.
Wow. We're going to go back to that, but let's go into the radio round. You know what? I do have one more question. I'm trying to figure out how to. I see people doing what you do, and not just that. I mean, on this platform, I interview all types of people, doctors, entrepreneurs, small business owners, artists, community, the whole thing, right? And they all have one thing in common. They all seem to have a spirit of helping. They want to see other people go forward. They go out on a limb. They put themselves out there to put others in the forefront of whatever thing they're into.
Right.
But the only thing that's different is the motivation behind the helping. What's your motivation behind helping? Like, what was there a specific moment where you just realized that's what you were meant to do? Have you always had a heart to be a helper of sorts? What's the story behind that? Yeah.
So I would say my motivation, if we get to kind of like to the root of that, is I didn't want to live with any regrets. In life, I think a lot of times people have regrets. And so the angle that I come from is, let me help you not have regrets. Did you try to launch the book? Did you try to sell the product? Did you get out there, get exposure, and really jump into it to see if this could work? And so that's one reason why I left corporate America after 25 years. And that was 3 years ago, because I didn't want to look back 5 or 10 years in the future and say, I wish I had have done it. I wish I would have tried. Most people, if we look at people that have regrets, and there are studies that show this, people regret what they didn't do. They don't regret the things they did. They regret what they didn't do. And so that's where I operate from, is a place of not having regrets. So if I can help customers who are kind of on the border of saying, I want to write a book, or I want to get out there and try this business thing, well, then let me help you so you don't have regrets. At least you tried. If you never know until you try. So no regrets. Hashtag no regrets.
Absolutely. Let's go into the radio co-host. Tell me a little bit about your platform.
Yeah, so the Charvette Mitchell radio show actually started over 13 years ago here in Richmond at 1540 a.m., Rejoice 1540 a.m. So I was actually in studio, bringing guests in the studio with headphones, mics, all that good stuff. And that started actually because of the web design business. I was invited to a marketing symposium that had radio, newspaper, all this other stuff. I was there to talk about, hey, artists and authors, you need a website. And then they had all of these other people there. And as I was listening to the radio person, again, at that point from 1540 a.m., she was giving ideas of how you could use radio. So I was like, I could do this. I'm a little dramatic. I like talking to people. And so I started like this short, like 15-minute show. Like that's all I had, 15 minutes. And I was featuring at the time web design clients. And then people started asking, can I come on your show? Can I come on? And I'm like, I'm only on once a month. I don't have enough time. And so then I started looking at what are other ways I could do this. And that's when I found out about Blog Talk Radio, which is internet radio. And so I basically got an account, set up a show, moved it from off of, in person, and moved it to Blog Talk Radio, which opened up my ability to have people from all over the world. And it's a talk show, comes on every Tuesday at 6 p.m. I haven't had any extended long breaks other than right around Christmas time. And I interview people and just hear their stories. Oftentimes it's related to business. I've done a lot long time ago in the music. I know you do a lot with music. So a lot of different type of artists that I've had the opportunity to have on when it originally started, and now focus more on business topics. But it's just a great avenue to be able to showcase people. And now we're streaming. with it. So the podcast or the Charvette Mitchell radio show now streams live, and then it still goes into iTunes and Stitcher and Blog Talk Radio and all that good stuff.
Wow. Being in the radio business, going kind of back to that imaging question, the whole image thing is kind of changing nowadays. What do you attribute that to? Like I said, it has changed from a point of where you had to have a bunch of muscles, some baby hair, or something. You know what I mean? And you had to have a flat tummy and, hourglass figure. But nowadays it seems to be that the actual talent of some of these artists is able to shine through more. What do you attribute that to?
I really attribute that a lot to social media, because people can get online and share their thoughts and gain an audience. So now what's happening is artists who might not have the typical body shape that the traditional music industry would want, that person like a Lizzo is out and has a humongous audience, and the numbers speak for themselves. So now certainly Lizzo is a major artist, but that's just an example. Now people are able to build their own audiences on YouTube, Instagram, all that, and they're coming to the table saying, I've got an audience. Do you want in on this? And that, I feel like, is a game changer. So that these artists are able to say, I've garnered an audience myself, and I'm going to go out and do this. And they can do independent now. You don't have to have a record label. So they're, again, back to that question and the answer around accessibility. You don't have to have a record label. You could do it independently. So then now you don't have to answer to anyone really above you.
Okay. So how does that ever translate? Have you found that ever translates into the radio game? Does that play a role in, or has that ever played a role in in that field, in the radio field?
I definitely think it has. I mean, traditionally, if we're talking about artists and what, the requirements and what they wanted them to look like, because even in traditional radio, there was still photography, or people could have been doing videos of the interview. So there was still an image question on the table.
Well, what I mean with you.
Oh, okay.
The interviewer, the radio host, has it played a role in what you do?
So I will say I look for professional pictures. So if someone is asking to come on my show, and again, they have a cell phone picture in the closet with sunglasses on, you're not coming on my show. So, and I've had aspiring artists send pictures like that, because I'm promoting you and I'm promoting the show. There's graphics being done, all of that. So I do look at you. You do have to have a professional picture. Now, size and all that, I'm not, I'm not getting into that, because I'm a plus size sister for those that are hanging out here with us, but you do have to have a professional picture. Has
it been a challenge for you? Has that been a challenge for you?
Yeah, I haven't seen any challenges for myself personally. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I also asked this to a lot of artists, and I'm going to ask you too.
Okay.
Being in entertainment, you are a party to a lot of talented people, and I'm sure just in your daily walk, you have people who have been like, hey, Sharvette, I can XYZ. I can sing. I can dance. I can tell jokes. I can blah, blah, blah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a Christian, we are conditioned. We have been conditioned to encourage one another, and we tell people, walk your vision out. Work hard. Don't stop. Don't give up. Do what you got to do. Allow God to lead you and guide you in everything that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we encourage people not to give up. But again, I'm sure that in your daily walk, you run into people all the time in your daily walk or whatever. It doesn't even have to be artists, just regular people that may be aware of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
They come up to you, hey, Sharvette, I can sing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you say, "Oh, really? I didn't know you could sing something." And it's not it. It's not it. And it's not that they're having a bad day. It's not it's not an off day. They just don't have it. Whatever it is. And being a professional such as yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite sure that you've been conditioned to kind of know the difference. So, is there ever a moment where someone in your position has to tell somebody, "Hey, that's not it"? Is there ever a moment for you?
So I would say for the music space, no. But what I will say in the business space, and this is what I tell customers, the process is your teacher.
Okay.
So if someone feels like they have something, whatever that something is, when they get into it and try to record, try to build an audience and it flops, the process taught them. Like you almost don't even have to say anything. Like them going through it, not getting the response that they want is the teacher. So I'll defer to, I don't do a lot in the music space. So I'll defer to those that deal with music. But I will say in the business space, I don't discourage anyone, but when they step out and try to implement, the process is going to teach them that it's go back to the drawing board and do some more work.
Okay.
Or get guidance around to see maybe it needs to be turned or curved another way. And maybe there's another angle that you can go, because this angle is not perhaps working. Maybe there's something else. If you don't sing well, but maybe you're a writer, maybe you stir them into the writing or the producing, because the singing might not be what's it.
Right.
So, and then sometimes people are not ready to hear it. So.
Wow. So you've had the opportunity to sit down with many great people, I'm sure. If you had to, what would you say was your most memorable interview today?
I'll list two. So, but the top one, and one is funny, I got to tell you about. But Thelma from Good Times, Bernadette Stannis.
Oh, wow.
I had the opportunity to interview her, and she was just delightful, very gracious, on time with the interview, kind of talked about what she was doing. So she was great. She was really, really great. One other thing that is usually kind of a funny thing I bring up is if you are, or people that follow you, watch The Real Housewives of Atlanta. I did have an opportunity to interview Candy's mom, and Mama Joyce. So she was fiery and very funny conversation. She started cussing and I had to kind of like wrap things up, but yeah. Those two things so those two I'd list as memorable moments.
Wow. I started this platform in like September of 2020.
Okay.
And needless to say, I've never done this before. It was something that was birthed, I guess, out of the pandemic. It was something that I've always wanted to do, but never really felt, for lack of better words, confident enough to do it, or had whatever it is that it takes to do whatever it is. But I'm here at this point, and I have interviewed a lot of people. I counted so far. I've done about 41 interviews so far.
Yay. Oh wow! Yeah.
And some interviews, and I'm sure you understand, some go a little bit smoother than others. I've encountered people that were enthusiastic about setting up the interview, but then when it got to the point, they just kind of acted like they didn't really want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like kind of had to pull some of the answers out, some of the 1-word answers, 2-word answers, and it just kind of seemed like I was getting on their nerves. have you ever encountered that? And if you have, like, do you have any tricks that you employ when those things come up?
Yes, and I have encountered that. Yes, where you've had interviews where it felt like you were pulling teeth. And so oftentimes that is the person's nervousness that actually takes over in the live, like they're live, people are here and listening. And so oftentimes that's what it is, that their nervousness takes over. So what I try to do, if I can assess that, or if I know to, or when I was starting out, I would send prep interview questions. So I would send questions ahead of time of, hey, here's about 10 questions I may or may not ask, kind of in this vein. And I found the more that you can help prepare them, then some of that pulling of teeth might not happen. Now, you're still going to have some people who are just, their nerves, they're just very short answers. And I've even seen interviews that Oprah has done where I could tell, I was like, she's pulling teeth with that interview. So I don't even think that it is even a level of the interview, where I think at all levels people are like that. But one thing that I did do definitely earlier on, and I will still do some now, is send some prep questions so that that person probably is a processor. And so the only thing they can get out are the 1 or 2 answers for some. And it's like, okay, if I gave them a little bit more time, they could formulate their answers more. So it's all an experience thing. People that interview a lot are better at interviewing. It's just, it is what it is. So if they don't interview a lot, then that, yeah, you can definitely have them. And then you can always end the show early. So if you're like, I'm done, don't look like they trying to do a whole bunch of talking, we're gonna wrap this up.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that, because I kind of purposely would not send the questions that I would ask, because I felt like I would get more of a natural, authentic, raw answer if I just allowed them to come on the show and not ask the questions. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of toyed with that, because a couple of people that I did interview did ask me, was I going to send questions or whatever? But sometimes I feel like if I give you the questions and give you time to kind of like formulate the answers for those questions, and then when we get on here, it's like, I don't know, is it feels kind of contrived, I guess, for lack of a better word.
I think it's preparation and how people process. There's some people that are quick on their feet, and then other people actually show up better if they have time to process and kind of think through, and they still can be engaging and still can, enjoy the viewers and respond. And it's not like they're reading, like, he said, what, this is how like reading their answers. So yeah.
Right. And I've watched a few of your videos, and you're very concise, and you're very it's very clear where you're going.
Yeah.
Where'd you learn that? It's like everything that you're very to the point. You're very concise. It's not a lot of big words. It's not a lot of complexities going on. It's just very clear and very articulate. Where does that come from?
I would say that comes from a couple of things. So one, I realize that people's attention span is short. They're even on. So, there's some people that are popping in and out on this interview. They're listening and they're, multitasking. So I realize that people's attention spans are short. And then part of that, I would say, also is from my background in training and development, corporate training and development in my corporate space, where, being in front of an audience, trying to train or doing computer-based training, that you learn to kind of get to the point of things. But I think a lot of it has to do with, I realize that people's attention span is really short, and what they can retain too. So even people who are engaged and paying attention, there's so much information overload. And I don't know if you feel like this, just there's so much on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, sometimes you just feel like I'm in information overload. So I recognize that, and I try to be concise, because I know that people are taking in so much information. And then hopefully my information is memorable because they remembered it.
Right. And that's what I was alluding to earlier, because you have a space that's I don't know if it's crowded, but there's a lot of people doing it. And so like you said, there's a bunch of information going out,
Yeah.
and it's hard to know who to listen to and who to not listen to.
Right.
Who's credible and who's not credible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I try to. I guess I'm a eat the meat and spit out the bones type of person.
Yeah.
I guess I can learn a little bit from everybody, even if it's learning what not to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Who are some of your in that space? Who are some of your in the radio host vein? Who are some of your influences?
So I like Oprah, even though she does have the Oprah radio. I think just her interviewing style. I really like her interviewing style. I like the use of words, the types of words that she selects. So I would definitely, say that. I think even when Michael Baisden was, all over, syndicated, I feel like he had a lot of good energy. And so I liked his energy and how he was able to engage with people. And so I'd say those, maybe some examples, that I would say I gleaned some things from.
Awesome. Let's go into the author of Charvette Mitchell.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that space.
Yeah. So, and I have my two of the 4 books here. So, the first book that I was a visionary author for is called Propel. And so what I did, Mike, was I worked with clients, all the time, as we talked about online marketing, visibility, all of that. And one of the things that's really beneficial for an expert or a leader is to have your intellectual property, written, documented, and have a product. And so I took this first book, which is called Propel, the Essential Handbook for Emerging Women in Business and Leadership, and pulled together me and 13 clients. And we wrote this. Everyone wrote a chapter, wrote a section, just sharing our experience of what propelled us, pushed us forward in business and in life. And so that was such a great, experience. And then I did it again that following year. So last year, same type of, idea, pulled together some clients, and we wrote this book, Pour, P-O-U-R, not poor as in you don't have money. And this is the secret effects of giving and serving in business and in leadership. And so this book really talks about who poured into us, or how do we pour into other people to help push them. And so they're both really great if you're a woman in business or leadership. I would say those are, examples. And it was great to partner with customers so that customers could walk away and say, I am now a published author. I have product. Even though they might have had maybe a service. I've had customers that are real estate agents, therapists, accountants. And so they were service-based. And so after, being in these books, we all now have actual product that's on Amazon and on our websites and stuff that we can sell.
Wow. Yeah. So you said that, these books will really help women in business and things of that nature. Right. And earlier you said that, and I'm paraphrasing, that you're out to help women and a few lucky men.
Yes.
Now you explain that to me.
Listen. I know I have male friends who say you're discriminating. You don't, you need to do something just for the guys. And so here's the thing, who I work best with. Let me start by that, saying are leaders, female or male. So who I know I'm assigned to, and because I'm a leader that is assigned to other leaders. So if you are a leader, we're going to work well together. With that said, anything in business, there's always a target. I don't know if you've ever been to the bowling alley, played darts or whatever. There's always a target that you're going after. Now, when you hit the darts, hopefully you hit in the target, but then you also hit around the target. And so that's why I say I sprinkle in a few lucky men. My aim and who I've been working really well with are women that are leaders. But I do work with men as well, individually. And so that's where the few lucky men get sprinkled in. So my one-on-one consulting, and previously with the web design services, I definitely had men as clients.
So consider if I'm a lucky man, if I'm one of those lucky men, right? What can I learn from you?
So there's a couple things, definitely around your content marketing. So people make an assessment of what you have to offer based off the content you're putting out, whether that is blog content, social media content. So we could work on your content marketing. We could also work on your email marketing. So email, the money is still in the email list, and you can prove it by looking at your email and see how many times Target, Macy's, Dick's Sporting Good, wherever you shop, how many emails they have sent you. If you are a brand or a business and you're not showing up in your client or your prospect's email box, that's something for you to think about. So email marketing, video marketing, similar to what we're doing here, the streaming and all different types of video, Instagram Reels, stories, and all of that. About actually, have a 6-week program I put together around video marketing and email marketing. So those types of things. But then even broader than that, speaking. So even as a man, there are conferences, there are places that you can get more visibility in front of somebody else's audience that positions you as a leader. So what type of speaking could you do, pursue, or create? And then events. That's another thing that I coach and consult on, is because that was one of the things that definitely drove my business. I've been hosting a conference annually every year. This is the 6th year coming up this November. We had it in the pandemic last November. We're having it again live in person in Richmond. And so events help you get in person and in front of and with your prospects so that you can build a rapport the quickest. And so those are some of the types of things, the framework that I work from as far as building your platform and your personal brand that I would work with a gentleman on.
Wow. So with the books that you've, you kind of answered my question. I was going to ask you a question in the vein of collaboration. I was going to ask you how important is collaboration in everything that you do, but you've pretty much answered that question. Yeah. So at the end of the day, what do you hope that people will take away from the works that you've put out? And what I mean by that is, I read your book, I read Pour, I read Propel. What do you hope that I take away from it?
What I hope is that what you have to offer the world, your product, your service, your gift, is needed and it's wanted in the atmosphere, and that you have enough courage to step out and pursue it. That's what my hope is. A lot of times people vacillate they're on the fence of whether I should do it. Is it good enough? It's not good as the next person's. Will somebody pay me? All of those types of questions. I hope if you read Pour or Propel, or look at any of my Instagram, my Facebook, I'm always encouraging people, step out, get out there. People want what you have.
Wow. Does it ever occur to you that you are a woman of color doing what you're doing? Does it, is that important to you? Or is it just important that you're doing what you're doing? So in essence, are you a Black radio host, author, speaker, or are you just are you a speaker, radio co-host, entrepreneur that just happens to be Black?
I am very clear that I am representing a population. There's spaces that I'm in. Even when I left corporate America, and when I posted about it a couple weeks ago, and there were previously like Caucasian coworkers, congratulating, like, go do it, go, knock it out the park. I do recognize that I am representing African Americans, and then I'm representing African American women. And that's why I'm really passionate about helping other African American women, because in a lot of cases, when we think about the accessibility of funding, knowledge, information, it's the good old boys club. It's the good old boys club. And so, yeah, I do definitely think about that. And I'm passionate about helping women in particular, because who's going to help us if we don't help each other?
Wow. Wow. So at this point in the game for you, like, what's the name of the game for you, like, at this point?
Growing and expanding who I can help and how I can help people. So I'm really in the space of how do I scale, how do I grow? So that is where I am. Absolutely.
We've dealt with a pandemic. We've dealt with racial tension, police brutality. We've dealt with incendiary politics. We've dealt with a president who was threatening not to leave office. We have seen the Capitol building get literally breached and infiltrated. From your vantage point, from your experience, has that altered or changed your trajectory in terms of the goals and missions of your business, if that makes sense? Has that changed how you kind of like move around and the type of business that you do?
So yeah, I would say it has put definitely some fire under certain areas in my business, because at the end of the day, and I said this during when the racial tension was really high and there was a lot of rioting and, a whole bunch of stuff going on, the more money that women make, Black women make, the better positioned we are. Some of this stuff that's going on is because we need their systems and we need their approvals, and we need, so the more money that we have, where we don't need some of these systems or rely on some of these systems as much, the more I feel like the more power that we will have. And so, yes, I do definitely, what I focused on during that kind of all those riots and all that was kept my head focused on my clients. Let's get out here and keep doing what we're doing, because the more money that we make, Black African-American women, the better off we are going to be positioned in this world. So.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So this has been exciting being here on this platform. I know Mike is popping back in.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. I want to say, just in this moment, this is probably one of the most important interviews that I've done today. The goal of this platform is to highlight, particularly people of color, but everybody, but particularly people of color, that are doing things that are impactful to the culture and the community. And I can tell just by talking to you that you're really committed and passionate about everything that you're doing, particularly to women. And I just feel like this is one of the most impactful and one of the most important interviews that I've done today.
Wow, I'm honored by that.
And I want to thank you for that. Entrepreneurship. What does that word mean to you?
Freedom. 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 It means freedom. It means owning kind of your future. But yeah, freedom is the first word that pops into my head.
Wow. So what is the just was that always the plan?
No.
To be the face. Well,
Yeah, it wasn't. I was comfortable. Again, I worked for a company, a local company. I've been there 25 years. I was a good 10 years of that. I was a mobile worker, which means I did not have a dedicated desk. So all of this kind of virtual working from home, I was doing 10 years ago. A lot of flexibility in my schedule. Managers liked me. So I was comfortable. And I was like, I'll keep doing this on the side. I'll keep doing kind of my side gigging of this. The radio show, the web design at that point, and I was comfortable until I got to a point where I was not comfortable. And I felt like I was in a box, and I questioned myself around what could this look like if I could put 100% of my effort into this? What could this look like? And so I bet on myself. And I was willing to step out and say, well, let me try. If it doesn't work, I'll go get a job, or I'll sell my condo, or I'll do, it wasn't anything fatal that I thought could happen. I thought if it doesn't work, I'll just go get a job, or I'll go do something. And it wasn't my testimony that it went south. It kept going up and kept receiving increases. So it wasn't like a long-term thing that I thought all my life, that I'd be an entrepreneur. I'd have actually been having some conversations with my mom, asking about family members and, thinking about, okay, well, my granddad was an entrepreneur, and then his brother owned a bodega. And then this aunt had, and, we didn't really hear the word. I don't know about you. I never heard the words entrepreneur, that they were entrepreneurs. They had their own businesses. And after I started really on both sides, I think father side and mother side, there were people who were entrepreneurs. And so my aunt did catering and made clothes and stuff. I mean, she was independent, entrepreneur. And so I guess it was in my bloodline, and I never really thought about it that way. But it was a couple years before I left that I became uncomfortable where I had been comfortable. And I was like, let me at least try this, because I don't want to look back with regrets.
Wow. I tell people all the time that as I was growing up, I grew up with a single parent, my mother. It was just my mother. She was always in school, always. I remember her going to college campuses, leaving me in the quad and telling me, you better not go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And she go to class for like an hour and a half, 2 hours and all of that. And so, but I was never really taught that I could own my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? I was never taught that I could make my own t-shirts. Like, this is one of my t-shirts right there.
Dope.
Thank you. I was never taught that I could imagine something and it be manifested to a point where people will actually have a demand for it. I was never really taught that I could own my own and, like you said, have that freedom of being able to call your own shots and have things move how you want them to move. And so it wasn't until late in my adult life that I really saw how important that was. And especially during the pandemic era, like I said, this platform was kind of birthed out of that. So
yeah,
it's always inspiring to hear, people like yourself that have similar stories.
Yeah.
So this is another great episode of Let's Take a Walk. We're with Miss Charvette Mitchell. We have talked about the radio business. We have talked about the literature, book writing business. We've talked about entrepreneurship. We've talked about empowering women and a few lucky men.
I know.
Just disrespectful, but it's okay.
My male friends had already been radio debates about that.
It's all good. Have you encountered, like, this is also something that I ask a lot of people who are in a similar position to yours, like in the interim of you building your empire, you have a group of people who genuinely love you. They're not haters. They genuinely love you. On one side, they'll say, hey, Sharvette, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I've seen other people try to do this and it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw this person and they lost a lot of money doing this, or I saw this person and it just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, and mind you, these are people that love you and genuinely think that they're helping you. So then on the other side, you have the dynamic of people saying, hey, Sharvette, you know what? You know you should be like as famous as Oprah. Why don't you do some more interviews? Why don't you go do more Facebook Lives? Why don't you blah, 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 get a billboard? I don't know, whatever.
Right.
So on one side, you have somebody who's saying you're not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got people on this side that's saying you're doing too much. So have you encountered that? And if you have, how were you able to navigate through that? Because these are people who, mind you, again, are not haters.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're not in the blogosphere. They're not in somewhere in Hoboken somewhere.
Right.
These are people that, you know, genuinely love you and want to have your best interest at heart.
So I have to say, I've been incredibly fortunate that close friends and family support me, where I do know that other people don't have that. But what I do say to that group of, hey, I know somebody that lost a lot of money doing that. Hey, do you think you should step out now? Here's what I learned early. I learned early on. I don't make announcements. By the time I do, when I'm ready, it's already done. So you can't talk me out of it. You can't say, well, I don't know if it's going to work. I learned that early on. I do not make announcements. By the time I make the announcement, it's already done. Oh, you've moved into a new office space. Yep, it's decorated. Go look at my Instagram reels so you can take a tour. I'm not saying I'm getting ready to do XYZ, or, oh, you having Kim Coles at your conference. Yep, contract already booked, airline already paid for. So I don't allow people to put their fear, because that's what happens. Even when I was leaving corporate America, I told like maybe 3 people, just because I was not going to allow somebody else's fear to get onto me, because that's what happens. And so I don't make announcements. By the time I put it out there, it's already done. So you can't say, well, somebody lost and somebody, oh, sis, I'm already done. Go check it out.
So shout out to Ebony Capri, because she is a stylist. She started her own company called Ideal Glam.
Okay.
She does mobile makeup. She does weddings and all type of events. And she said that exact same thing. I asked her that question. She was like, I don't tell anybody anything. I just do it. That is super awesome. That is super awesome.
No, people making all these announcements, type of wait till you see what I'm working on. Oh, I'm working on something big, and and then that allows people who don't have your mindset to start feeding their negativity onto you. And like you said, a lot of times it can be, they're not saying it from an intent of harm. They're thinking they're helping you, but if their faith or their tenacity is not where yours is, then it doesn't matter. And then the other thing is, all of this is very individual. I read so many stories about entrepreneurs, people, we even hear like Tyler Perry, he put on some play, only 2 people showed up. He lived in his car. Like, there's a lot of stories about entrepreneurship that you could get caught up in that's going to be my journey. But like, that wasn't my journey. I left corporate America. That year I replaced my salary, and then the next year I doubled it. So I didn't have the feast to famine that you can read about different blogs. So you can't, everything is individual. And I would say that with ministry, music, entrepreneurship, it's individual for you. So.
Wow. Wow. Like I said, as you speak, like I said, I just really feel like this is an important interview. Maybe for me. Maybe it's something that I need to hear.
All right. Well, it's right on time.
Absolutely. If I'm aspiring to do some of the things that you're doing. And I just need research material. If I just need something to refer to kind of help me along the way, what would you recommend?
Number one, I would first of all jump over to my website, charvettemitchell.com, and look at my blog. I have blog articles, I have videos, I have resources, I have tools. So go there. And then I would say Google University and YouTube University. We use those loosely, but there's so much out there that people they just don't even go look. Like I'll see people ask a simple question. I'm like, did you even go to Google and just type that in? Because Google will bring up all that you need. So from a research standpoint, Google, YouTube. But if you're specifically getting into the space that I'm in, I invite you to go check out charvettemitchell.com, and that'll help you on the blog. That'll get you some information.
That was really dope of you to that was really dope of you to do that. I really thought you were going to name some other people, but that was really dope what you did.
Oh yeah. So there you go.
Right. What have you found to be the most common misconception about you?
That I am this like really outgoing, loud, extrovert all the time. And that actually is a misconception. I'm an ambivert, which is a mix between introvert and extrovert. So I think that's a misconception.
Okay. On the flip side of that, what would people be surprised to know about you?
Ooh, surprise. That I actually spend a lot of time alone. Alone, not in a bad, but some people think, you're at networking things all the time. And I see you tagged in flyers, and people kind of make up this really glamorous life when I think they'd be surprised. Like it's quiet and simple most days. So yeah, I think some people would be surprised by that.
What do you do for peace when you're taking in all kinds of things and you're trying to unpack a lot of things that you're doing and navigate through a lot of things that you're doing? What do you do that for kicks, just the kind of
kicks and giggles? I definitely have a small knit inner circle that I can just let my hair down, just not be the Charvette Mitchell, whatever that means and feels to people. So definitely getting some time with very close knit friends and family. Also, I listen to podcasts. So sometimes people don't do the stuff that they do. So I have a couple podcasts that I'm checking out. Like they drop every Thursday, and I get off of social media and just go into the podcast app and chill and listen to that. I will say, shameless plug, I have gotten a little bit into TikTok, and TikTok to me is a little, I know, don't shame me, but that's a little bit of a de-stressor. It's kind of like, I just laugh, it's all some of the funny stuff. So that's something that I do online, but I would definitely say my close knit circle is really supportive, and just getting, spend some time with them or talk. And those are things that help.
Real quick. You brought up you have a small tight knit circle. Is there a team behind CharvetteMitchell.com, or is it really just a one-man show for the most part?
So I do have a virtual office manager that works with me part-time. So Tara, shout out to Tara Colton if she listens to this. So that's ongoing support I have every week. I do have contracted support. So for instance, I'm gearing up for about 14 to 15 photo shoots for clients. So there's one photographer that I hire. We work together as a team that whole time. I've got photography assistants that come on during those periods. My conference, I have a conference project manager, a speaker concierge. So they're like contractor resources during the times of the conference. I literally don't lift a finger at the conference. I can just focus on being present and showing up. But if a projector is on or is the table set up, is the tablecloth down, I'm not doing any of that. There's a whole team that does that and has done it for the last 5 years, going on 6 years. And so I have support in those ways. It ebbs and flows. So you asked earlier, what am I looking forward to? And that is definitely growing and having more full-time W-2 employees.
Wow. This is a question, and this is my last official question. This is a question that I ask all my guests.
All right.
And so when I ask it, I just want you to take a moment and think about it and give me the most honest, transparent answer that you can. Okay?
All right.
Here's the question. What would have to happen, if it hasn't happened already, in your life for you to consider your life a success? What does success translate to you? Or
it
for
would,
you?
and I know the answer. So I know you said you want me to think, but it would definitely being a employer for others. That I would deem the next level of success in employing African Americans. Let me be clear. So that would be that consistent, that I am, whatever I'm producing is helping pay somebody else's mortgage or pay somebody else's car note or helping them put their child through school or whatever. That is, would be the next level of success that I would say, yep, here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
If I'm an aspiring, I've kind of asked you this question before, but I'm an aspiring radio host or an aspiring author or an aspiring speaker, or I'm just an aspiring entrepreneur, and I just need advice. I just need somebody to kind of give me some guidance, because up till now I haven't been successful in that vein. How can I get in touch with you?
You can jump over to charvettemitchell.com, which is my name, and that'll get you to my main website. And I offer a complimentary meet and greet call so we can chat and hear what your goals are. And perhaps I can offer what types of solutions I have available. So charvettemitchell.com is where we can connect. And then Sharvette pretty much on the interwebs, except Instagram is Sharvette M.
Okay. You are hilarious. I was going to ask you one more question, and it just slipped out of my mind just that quick. Got it. Pandemic. Mm-hmm. Everything like 2020. And I promise this is the last question.
Okay.
What have you learned about yourself now that you didn't know about yourself prior to the pandemic? What have you learned about yourself that you didn't know about yourself? What were you surprised to learn about yourself prior to the pandemic?
Wow, that's a tough one. So I would say part of it is that ambivert piece, that introvert / extrovert. I was like long as I had groceries, like I was good really through probably July. Like I would say March through July, I was like, hey, I'm good. And then I started feeling the itch, after, I would say after that point, whereas some people felt like they had cabin fever, like by April. So I think that surprised me, like, hey, I'm okay with this. I'm okay. As long as I have groceries, I'm okay. So, that I am, so that's what I learned, that, that I could be by myself longer. Cause I'm single at this current time, not married. Let me say it that way. And so there's no, I didn't have anybody else in the household. So, you kind of with the pandemic, you're like, okay, just stay close together. But yeah, so I think being, kind of standing in my own strength was something that was like, okay, hey, yeah, I can do this. And I'm doing okay with it.
What's something that you wish you would have, what's something that you know now that you wish you would have known prior to?
The pandemic or prior to?
Prior to the pandemic. What is something that you know now that you wish you would have known prior to the pandemic?
I would have looked at how to do some more business on the government corporate government level, government contracting. So some of that came about end of 2020. So I would have started looking probably sooner because there were some opportunities that came up, I think more so. So that's something that I would have looked into sooner. It was on my to-do list, but I would have pushed that up further to be like, hey, go get all the certifications, all the stuff you need. So yeah, that's something that I would have done sooner.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I know you could be doing a gazillion different things, but you saw fit to spend time with us here on Let's Take a Walk. And I definitely appreciate it. And I hopefully look forward to sitting down with you again in the near future.
Oh, right.
And I wish you much blessings on everything that you have that you've done thus far and going forward. Is there any last words that you want to leave with the audience before we
Yes, I will leave with my favorite quote by H. Jackson Brown Jr. Opportunity dances with those already on the dance floor. Get on the dance floor.
Wow. I gotta save that. I gotta use that one. But again, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. And I appreciate you so much.
All right.
Okay. Well, again, this is always the awkward part. You know what I'm saying?
I'm taking a quick, for those that are watching, I'm taking a quick picture so I can post it on my Instagram Reels. That's a little tip there, a little tip.
Okay. Before we go, I want to let everybody on LTAW know that this is airing on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So you can go to YouTube and type in "Let's Take a Walk" featuring Charvette Mitchell, and you can watch the whole interview on YouTube. Go back and watch it on YouTube as well. And please like and share as you when you go onto YouTube. Please like and share. We're trying to get those likes up. We're trying to get them and subscribe as well, because we're trying to get them subscriptions up. You know what I'm saying? So help a brother out. And I appreciate you in advance. Thank you very much. Miss Mitchell, I thank you again. And again, I pray much blessings on you and everything that you have going on.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. You have a good night.
All right.
All right, guys. Another great interview with another great guest. What's up, Savannah, my niece? What's going on, baby girl? Another great guest, Miss Charvette Mitchell. As I said on the interview, I think that this interview is very important. Not that any of the other ones weren't, but this one struck a particular chord with me. Please watch and rewatch. Please share. Tell a friend to tell a friend and share this. I think that she had a lot of important things to say. I think she had a lot of important things to share. And it personally struck a chord with me, especially being in this vein and really not being experienced in this vein, but just kind of learning as I go. I'm very appreciative to all the faithful people who have come on this platform and who have watched the interviews even after we've done them, not live, but afterwards. I thank you for your support, and it's really helping my confidence. It's really helping how, I go forth in this platform. And I just, like I said, I'm very appreciative, and I don't take it for granted. And I know that we have a modest viewership at this point, but I know I'm trusting God that as we go, we will grow, and that's the name of the game. And I really do this so that not only I can grow, but you can grow too, and make those spiritual connections, those business connections, however. And that's really that. But again, I thank you guys, and I will see you guys next Friday. I got something real special for y'all next Friday. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but you just come on and come on to Let's Take a Walk and check out what I got in store. Trying to do a little something different, give a little diversity to the show. So come on next Friday, man, and take a walk with a brother and see what I got in store for y'all. All right, I'm sure that you guys will enjoy it. With that being said, I'm going to sign off and let's take a walk.
Hey y'all, I'm Ebony Capri.
What's up, everybody? This is J.R. Simon.
Hey y'all, this is Hope Cherie.
What's up? My name is Marvelous Marissa.
What's up? This is Antonio Neal, and this is Let's Take a Walk.